In order to build a rewarding employee experience, you need to understand what matters most to your people. Today is the day for those who are aspiring HR managers, those who are good at relation building and have the ability to listen actively. Good morning, IIEBM. I welcome you all to IIEBM Original Direct to Home lecture series. Hands on, plugs on, minds on. My name is Balkrishna and I'm your host and host for today's session. Today's session is going to give you another perspective to look at your career and also give you virtue towards out-of-the-box thinking. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce you to my immediate senior from the class of 2008-10, Mr. Zafar Modak. Mr. Zafar is a right-brained HR professional with 9+ years experience. He is an innovator in the area of human resource management, employee engagement, and organization development. He has also helped a lot of startups to set up their HR department right from scratch. Currently, Mr. Zafar is working with DataFortune as an HR business partner. He is also a strong believer of the analogy which states that keep the human side alive in human resources. He is also associated with institutes and organizations like TIME, Symbiosis Institute of Telecom Management, Allard School of Business Management as an interview panelist and visiting faculty. Mr. Zafar is a photography enthusiast and also an avid blogger. So ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from the man himself, Mr. Zafar Modak.
Hello everyone. Good morning. I hope everybody is doing good, is in good health and is safe at their homes. Balkrishna introduced me. Thank you very much, Balkrishna. Today, the world has changed. We never expected such a change to happen at such a rapid speed. A lot of things have changed for all of us. Right now, I'm sitting in my office alone, presenting to you. So at this time, usually there are at least 30 people in my office every day when the time was normal. So today I'm going to talk about how things have changed and what could be the future of workplaces post the complete lockdown is over. The offices are full-fledged, allowed to work. So yes, so we'll talk about the new normal post COVID-19. Yeah, I think we can start the presentation. Okay, so Balkrishna has already introduced me. So my name is Zafar. I'm currently associated with DataFortune as a HR business partner. And we'll go ahead and start the presentation. So this is the new normal. It's completely 180 degrees opposite of what we thought it would have been. Obviously we are progressing towards, or I would say we are adopting to newer technologies, to digitization at our workplaces. But this was all of a sudden, it was like March 2nd week, we thought of allowing work from home, and then a lot of organizations thought of allowing work from home on March 23rd or something. We went into a complete lockdown. In fact, the whole world was into a complete lockdown. Still, there are lots of countries that are into lockdown. So the new normal will be completely different from what you thought it would be. Okay. So today we'll talk about what exactly do we mean by the new normal and why this term new normal. I'm sure a lot of you who are attending this session would have already listened to it again and again, heard about the term new normal again and again. So we'll see what the new normal is all about. We'll talk in brief about it. Plus, we'll see how the old workplaces were and how the new workplaces could be. Now, why I'm saying could be is because it depends on the size of the organization, the culture of your organization, and lots of things that come into picture while taking decisions related to the new normal. Okay, so we'll start. So one thing is certain, that you are allowed to scream, you are allowed to cry, but not give up. So just because you see a lot of cases happening in India, we'll just talk about India for now, not about US, because US is far ahead of us. So just because we see a lot of cases, we see a lot of people dying, we see a lot of migrant workers stuck somewhere outside their home states, does not mean that we give up. There is always a ray of hope that we can think of, and there is always a positive side, or you can say that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So yes, so the new normal would be more of like the Indian government has also clarified to a certain extent that now uh, we are done with enough of I would say the hide and seek. Okay, we were playing hide and seek till the last 31st of May. So from 1st June we have gone into unlock 1.0 kind of a thing. So enough of hide and seek, and now we have to live with it. So we'll have to adopt to such things and make changes into our lifestyle to go ahead in the future. So let's see how the old world was and the new world would be, or the workplaces would be. So yes, the first thing is remote working, or people as popularly know it as work from home. So earlier, face-to-face interactions for meetings, we used to go to offices or to client locations. But right now, it's the world of work from home. Everybody, most of them, I would say, other than the essential services, are working from home. And a lot of companies have committed that by a few years down the line, that most of their workforce will work from home. Like TCS has announced it. Infosys is also trying to do that, something similar. So work from home will be a new normal. Earlier, what used to happen was due to the type of projects that the companies used to get, it was becoming very difficult for companies to allow work from home to a certain set of people. And that's the reason why there was a problem with their work-life balance and other issues like the internet speeds at home, or I would say there was no proper I would say there was no proper desk for them at home. So these things have changed. If you ask me, I have bought a desk after the lockdown period just because I could not sit on my sofa throughout the day, during my work hours. So things are changing, I would say, for good, so that your work-life balance is also maintained. So we'll move on to the next. Personal information. Earlier, what used to happen was most of your personal information, obviously the information that you share with your employer, like your Aadhaar card, your PAN card, was obviously there with your work employer, that is your company that you're working for. But now the employer may ask you for more detailed personal information, like your medical records. The employer may ask you before joining that it's mandatory that you do this additional tests, medical examinations, which was not the case earlier. So in the new normal, you will see a lot of additional personal information that will be collected by your employer. In fact, your employer, in certain cases, your employer might keep a tab on what you're searching for. Are you searching for symptoms of coronavirus? Are you searching for suffering from heavy breathing? What could be the issue? Are you searching for such something like that at the workplace using the workplace internet? So the organization might keep a tab on it just to make sure that nobody else is getting infected because one or the other employee is infected. Okay, your health is an organization priority. Earlier, health was always an organization priority, but it was not one of the top priorities for an organization. Now, if you ask me for an example, I'll give you an example. Like, for example, I would say earlier, there are lots of companies who offer you free food at the office pantry or the canteen, or paid food also at the office pantry or canteen, or even snacks or breakfast. So for that matter, what will happen is organizations will try to shift from a regular diet to a healthier diet. Like in the future, you might see more of juices, more of fresh vegetables or fresh fruits. Food preparations made using fresh vegetables and fruits. And you might also see some kadas or health drinks or something like that at your organizations. So priorities will change due to the COVID-19. The organizations have learned a lot of things through this, through the lockdown, through the office closures, through work from homes, and basically from COVID-19. So the organization's the health will be one of the top priorities for your organizations. Not only because obviously the organization cares about you. Not only because of that, but also because they care about others. They don't want one person to spread any infection, not just corona or COVID, any other infection to their work at their workplace. Okay. Okay, relationship with colleagues. So I have seen a lot of examples post lockdown, during the period of lockdown, that you always have those colleagues. I'm sure some of you who are attending this session have work experience also, and I'm sure you will agree with me that you always have colleagues at workplaces whom you like and whom you completely dislike. Okay, so we'll talk about the people whom you usually dislike. So these people are those who are irritating ones, who always bug you, who micromanage you, and do whatnot. Okay, so these people during the lockdown period come as blessing in disguise and help you in solving your problems that you're facing, anything related to work. So I've seen examples wherein, let's take an example. If an employee dislikes a ex manager, his manager X, okay, but during the lockdown period they have come very close. Okay, so the colleagues who were enemies earlier have become friends now, because they have seen, when you work from home, the environment is completely different. We have to take calls using webcam or on our cell phone voice calls or video calls. So that way you are unable to connect with the whole team as you used to do during your face-to-face interactions in the office. So this brings you closer when you do a one-on-one call with your colleagues. So I've seen enemies turned into friends. So the relationship with colleagues in the new normal will improve, and it would lead to more efficiency in the workplace. Okay. Now, this is a very important point, changes in work profile. So earlier, you are hired for a particular role, and this might be applicable especially in startups, wherein you are hired for a developer role. And once the development is done, the software goes for testing, where the testing teams comes into picture. The testing is done, then UAT is done, and then deployment is done. So right now, what might happen, especially at startups, is there might be layoffs that might be happening. You might have already heard of companies laying off employees, delaying joining of freshers or new joinees, or completely canceling any hiring that was going on earlier. So you will see a lot of, I would say not lot of, a few changes in the organization structure, wherein you will have to be multitasking. Let's say, for example, if I was hired for a developer role, I develop it, I do the testing also, obviously, other than UAT, the unit testing, sorry. So I do the testing and then I deploy it on the production server. So you'll have to play multiple roles. You'll have to take client calls. So earlier that was not the case. You had your manager who was taking client calls, your lead who was taking client calls, the testing team was testing. But now in the future, or in the new normal, especially startups would want you to be more multitasking, because they want to save on costs. And yeah. So this is obvious, another level of social distancing. I'm based out of Maharashtra, Pune. So here we can start, or we were allowed to start offices from 5th or 8th of June, 5th June, okay, with 10% of capacity. Or let's say, for example, my office strength is 250. So I can ask 25 employees to come to our office. And that's not the only term that they had put, a condition that they had put. They told us to maintain social distancing. So we have to make sure that people sit in a zigzag manner by maintaining social distancing. So this could happen at least to a certain duration of time, till everything settles down or gets back to normal. You will see a lesser number of people in the offices, more space between two people, like 6 feet or 2 meters of distance between two people. So this is going to happen in the new normal once the workplaces start operating. Yes. Goodbye to 9 to 5. Usually, IT companies are known for their 9 to 5 jobs. Um, their But you go at 8:30, 9 o'clock, reach office, finish your job, leave at 5:30, and come back, reach home by 6:30. So that's how the IT companies were typically known for. And But right now, what is going to happen is the organizations have seen now that since the lockdown has begun, if you ask about our organization, we haven't seen any dip in the productivity. Okay, no considerable dip in the productivity. I would say it's normal or better than what it was earlier. Okay, because when you're at home, you are more productive because there is less of distractions from your colleagues, from anybody else in the office. So you tend to be more productive. So given this fact, organizations may allow you to be flexible. Instead of coming from 9 to 5, you can reach by 12 o'clock, you can leave by 3 o'clock. It's up to you. You can come at 8:30, you can leave at 2 o'clock. So it's up to the employee to decide how he wants to attend the office. Now, this is very important and very beneficial for female employees, so that they can take care of their responsibilities at home and then attend office. And if they have any more responsibilities to take care of, they can go back home and take care of them. So this could be a win-win for the organization as well as all the employees. Now, a dip in middle management. Basically, in lots of large organizations, I would not say startups, because startups, when they hire, especially for middle management roles, they are very sure about what exactly they want them to do. Okay, but in large organizations, the middle management has a lot of employees. Okay, obviously because of the overall size of the organization. So you might see a little bit dip in the middle management role, because ideally it's a saying that middle management ऊपर से लेता है और नीचे लोगों को दे देता है responsibilities. So you take a task from let's say if I'm a middle manager, I'll take the task from my senior and give it to my junior. So that if that is what I'm doing, I don't need to get paid this much for doing that task, right? Even a developer can do that. So there might be a dip in middle management. The same thing happened during the 2008 recession. While we were passing out from IIEBM after our MBA. So a lot of middle management people from middle management were sacked during 2008, and we expect this to happen post COVID, in the new normal also. Skill building, very important, because earlier people who have experience might have seen at their workplaces or experienced it in some or the other way. Let's say, for example, in one of the emerging technologies these days is RPA. I would not say it's a completely emerging technology. It's an old technology, but people are opting for it nowadays. A lot of people are opting for it. So RPA is robotic process automation. So if I know RPA, I used to feel, or if I know Python, I would say, then I used to feel, oh, I'm the best. I know Python, I know RPA, I know AWS and Azure. Okay, but post-COVID, like I said earlier, you might be asked to be multitask. Okay, so you'll have to do different tasks. So it's better you brush up your skills, learn newer technologies, and you are expected to learn newer technologies. You are expected to brush up your skills and take on more responsibilities. So earlier, who was the guy who was the best just because he knew RPA and Python and Azure and AWS might not be the best in the future. He needs to opt for and learn newer technologies or emergent technologies, especially people in operations who will be going for a role in operations will have to learn a lot of newer technologies that are coming up, especially RPA. Now, efficiency versus resilience. So what it means is efficiency is how productive I am. Let's say, for example, if you talk about a manufacturing unit, if it is expected that a person produces, it might not be directly applicable. To give you an example, I'm taking an example of a manufacturing unit, because I might not be able to give you an example from an IT sector. So if you talk about the manufacturing sector, if a person is expected to produce 7 screws in a minute, okay, but what happens is he tries to improve it and somehow produces 11 screws. So we can say that he's efficient, okay. So that is efficiency. Now resilience is more about how you can overcome challenges, how you can overcome hurdles, how you can overcome any new problems that you face at the workplace. So earlier what used to happen was companies were more concerned about productivity, okay. They were investing in softwares, in training people, in coaching people to improve the productivity or the efficiency of the people. But now post COVID, or in the new normal, you will see companies investing more into resilience, or into people who are resilient. So what we mean by that is people who can overcome challenges, people who can resolve any issues that they face. These will be the people who the organizations will invest more in, will try to hire or poach. So these type of resilient people will be more valuable in the market as well as to the organizations. Okay. Now, this is a very interesting slide. This was suggested. I had sent my presentation to one of my colleagues who is a junior. He has about 2 years of experience in the IT sector. We hired him as a fresher. So I sent my presentation to him, asking him if there are any suggestions, there is anything that he wants me to add. So he told me about this. And he explained to me what this means. So this is very interesting. Earlier, what used to happen is you either used to have a skill or you used to have a challenge. Okay. Earlier in the workplaces, you either used to have a skill. Let's say, for example, Python. But then the challenge was of I would say AWS, but you didn't know AWS, or the other way around. You were having a challenge in Python, but the skill required was something else. So you see, there was no midway. So after in the new normal, what is going to happen is you might achieve the flow state of happiness. The flow state of happiness is a midway between challenge and the skill set that you already know. So let's say, for example, now why would this happen? This would happen because people are exploring a lot. Now, if you just log into LinkedIn, if you have considerable number of followers or connections, you'll see a lot of people are learning newer technologies. They are doing lots of new certifications through Coursera, through LinkedIn Learning, through Educard, or different places. So, excuse me. So what we are seeing in the future is people will be will become well equipped to face any challenges through resilience and through the skill sets they have learned during the lockdown or post lockdown. Okay, so people through their skill sets and the ability to face challenges will achieve a flow state of mind, which was not the case earlier, since you either lacked the challenge or the skill set. Now, business travel will obviously change. It has changed during the lockdown period. Since the traveling was banned, if you ask me personally, we had cancelled international travels for some of our salespeople. We had to take a lot of salespeople had to take video calls, which was earlier also happening to a certain extent. But the fun of going to a client location and selling or pitching him something and then getting the business is completely different from a video call. Okay, but this might change. Companies will ask, they would prefer doing a video call or a video conference and pitch their product and get the business instead of traveling there. On the other hand, they would also be able to save a lot of money that way. And obviously, digital transformation, the most debated topic. The reason why I'm saying debated is because everybody wants to digitize everything, whether today or yesterday, before the pandemic happened, or whether it's today. Every organization wants to go digital. They don't want to keep documents. They don't want to keep anything hard copies. They want everything in soft copies. But nobody actually tried to do that. You see, a lot of organizations just said that we are going digital. But if you go to their offices, you will see lumps of files, lots of files on the desk, and everything lying here and there. This is especially true in the manufacturing sector. So COVID-19 has taught us about how to forcefully go digital. That's why the second image says go accelerated the digital transformation in your company. So it was not the IT team, the CEO or the CTO or the agile team. It was coronavirus. You see, large organizations, I might not be able to take names of all those organizations, but very large organizations have delivered desktops along with mouse, keyboard, and monitors to the houses of their employees, just because the lockdown started and employees could not travel back to collect those laptops or desktops from their office. They have literally delivered those in boxes, and these are, believe me, these are very large organizations. Okay, बड़े box आते थे, your name and employee ID was written, and you have to pick up the box, go home, set it up, and then start working. This has happened throughout. Everything has gone for a toss. Your non-disclosure, your security policies, everything. Jahan pe you could not put a pen drive in a desktop. That desktop is at my home now. So I can I can connect it to a TV tuner card. I can connect it to my monitor. I can connect it to anything that I want, right? So that's how digital transformation will take a. Organizations will take some serious steps towards digital transformation. Now, BCP, business continuity plan. Usually what happens is a lot of organizations do take their business continuity plan. I'll tell you what business continuity plan is. Excuse me. Business continuity plan is a plan made or I would say it's a preparation done by an organization just in case if they face any issues. Let's say, for example, it's business as usual. We are all 200 people working from the office, and all of a sudden there is a 8 Richter earthquake on a scale of 8 Richter, Richter scale or something like that. Okay, so it's a very massive earthquake, and in that case, everybody runs home, goes back home. So in that case, what do you do? So that is where the BCP comes into picture, business continuity plan. A lot of clients will ask for your BCP when you go for signing up before you get the business, and when you go for signing up, their agreements will have BCP plans in place. But a lot of organizations, on the other hand, were taking BCP plan as something just on paper. ये हमको पता है हर एक client को BCP ऐसे ही apply करना है. We'll just put, okay, if there is we have a different place. Right now we are working in Pune. We have a place in Mumbai where we'll shift if there is an earthquake in Pune. If there are floods in Pune, we'll shift to Kolhapur or something like that. You see, so a lot of companies were not taking it seriously. But now, after the pandemic has happened, in the new normal, companies will take serious steps to plan their BCPs. They will take into consideration each and every aspects of any natural calamity or anything that can happen. And now that pandemic has happened, obviously they'll take pandemic also into the consideration. So, yeah. So I think my presentation is done. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. Balkrishna will be able to guide you on that.
Thank you so much, sir. There are a lot of questions I have.
Okay.
So, first question is the HR need to be friendly or effective?
That's a good question. So I'll tell you. Basically, I would be friendly, but I should know my limits. Okay, of friendship that I need to have with my employees. Okay, so I'm very close to a few employees at my workplace, because we have been working. So this is my let me clarify. This is my second time with DataFortune. For a year, I was working with a different organization. So I've been very closely associated. I've been very close friends with a few employees of ours, In fact, we bought houses together. एक ही building में घर लिए, एक दूसरे के सामने रहते हैं. So there is a personal relationship also outside office that we have. So you obviously have to be very friendly as an HR. You have to be soft spoken. You have to understand their problem. The most important skill set would be active listening, because a lot of times we tend to just listen to answer or to reply. Instead of that, you have to be an active listener when you are in HR. And in HR, you have to understand that you cannot consider a question to be a stupid question. A senior might know a particular thing about the organization, but the fresher who joined recently or yesterday might not know that. So for somebody else other than HR, that might be a stupid question. Sir, ये door कैसे open करते हैं? इसको access कैसे करना है? Okay, it might be a stupid question for his seniors, but for an HR, you have to understand that it's not a stupid question. So in HR, any question that you get is not a stupid question. Now, if you talk about efficient, you have to be efficient. I was just writing down a few points before the presentation began, because I knew some questions like this would come. So you have to make sure the HR before the, I would not say before, the HR has to be throughout his career, has to contribute to the business. It's not only about onboarding people, hiring people, recruit कर लिया, induction हो गया, onboard आ गया, अभी manager देख लेगा. You have to make sure that you help people and the organization in growing. So you have to understand each and every aspect of the business. It's very important. You cannot be a typical HR who passed out from his MBA recently and then going to the office thinking कि मुझे एक केबिन मिलेगा, वहाँ पे मैं बैठूंगा, calls करूंगा, एक recruiter रहेगी. So that's not how the new world would be. And now also it is not the same. So you have to be efficient as well as friendly at the same time.
Okay, so the next question is, people perceive that HR has to work in a closed door environment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you throw some light on this? Is that the case that they always have to be in a closed door environment?
Sure. I'll give you an example. When you say a closed door environment, there are different parts in HR. Okay, especially in startups, what happens is the HR teams are very small. It is said that for every 75 to 100 people, there should be one HR. Okay. Now this is especially applicable in startups. Now, when I say startups, what happens is there are budget constraints. The teams are small, so the HR teams are small. When I say HR team is small, as an HR, I have to do recruitment, I have to do compensation and benefits, I have to run the payroll, I have to make sure that the light in the front reception is working. From the admin standpoint, I also have to make sure that I am keeping all the employees happy. This is a startup HR. Now, if you look at the larger organization, there will be different teams. There will be an admin team who will be looking into the light at the reception. There will be a compensation benefit team who will be looking into the comp and benefits and the payroll processing. There will be a finance team who will be completely handling salary payments. And then there will be employee engagement team who will be interacting with the employees. Okay. So in larger organization, it's not necessary. I have seen when I was working with a large organization, I've seen people sitting just with other employees because they were from a team which was not handling confidential data to that extent. But if you are talking about startups, sometimes, yes, it has to be a closed door environment, but that doesn't mean you keep your doors closed. Physically, you might be able to keep, you might be allowed to keep your doors closed, but for employees, your doors should be always open for their queries, especially.
Okay, this is one of the common questions which we got earlier also. So it says that remuneration packages of HR are less in comparison to marketing and finance.
Correct.
How correct is the statement?
I would say it's correct to a greater extent, I would say. The reason I'll give you, see, HR has always been perceived as a non-billable resource. आप सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर नहीं हो, आप सॉफ्टवेयर टेस्टर नहीं हो, या फिर आप कोई ऐसे बंदे नहीं हो जिसके लिए क्लाइंट पे कर रहे हैं, राइट? सो since you have been a non-billable resource, all the traditional HRs have been doing is hiring, like I said earlier, hiring, completing their induction, and then handing over the new employee or the new joinee to the manager. That's it. That's my job. Okay, I'm done with my job. So this was a traditional HR, but things are changing now. If you look at if you go to salary.com, this is a website wherein you can compare salaries of different HR based on their experience, based on the country that they are from. So if you could look at it, you will see it has improved a little bit, or I would say to a greater extent, because now the HR is playing a completely different role of a business partner. So when I say business partner, it knows it is assigned, let's say, for example, to simplify it, a business partner HR will be assigned to a particular project or a number of projects, wherein he'll have to make sure that the project is successful from a people management standpoint. Okay, not from the technical standpoint. So that way I'm trying to contribute, even though I'm still not billable, I'm trying to contribute positively towards the growth of that project, which will eventually lead to the growth of the organization. So yes, you are right, whoever asked the question, that the compensation of an HR is comparatively low as compared to any software developer or tester, but it is improving day by day. So it all depends on how well you contribute, how the management sees you contributing towards the betterment of the organization.
Okay. So one more interesting question that, do you think an HR has to be diplomatic?
Okay. So HRs have to be diplomatic, to be honest, because you see, HR is also known as a scapegoat. Scapegoat is वो बंदा जो लोगों की भी गालियाँ खाता है और मैनेजमेंट की भी गालियाँ खाता है, ठीक है? So when I say you have to be diplomatic, you have to play a dual role from a positive standpoint. I'm not talking about the negative standpoint. You'll have to support the employees as well as management, because management is paying you and you're working for the people. Okay. So when you take into consideration the diplomacy, you have to convince the management to do something better for the employees and convince the employees to adjust in what we are getting. Okay. But very important point, you'll have to, nowadays the organizations are changing, the culture in the organizations are changing. That's the reason why you'll have to be world class, or I would say at least much better than the organizations at your level. Okay, so if you are a 200 people organization, if there are 10 different organizations, you'll have to strive to be on top of the line, because people will compare you. Okay, people will say, अरे ये तुम्हारी कंपनी ये दे रही है, पर वहाँ पे वड़ा पाव के साथ समोसा भी मिल रहा है, यहाँ पे सिर्फ वड़ा पाव मिल रहा है स्नैक्स में. You see, that is how the comparisons happen. Directly comparison hota hai. So you'll have to be diplomatic and convince management as well as employees to a certain thing, for a certain thing.
Okay, so we were talking about the skills. So what do you think, what are the prerequisites one should have to become a successful HR manager?
Okay, so one of the primary skills is, I would say, you'll have to be friendly with the employees. See, you will find a lot of people or HRs who are short-tempered also, but वो उनके दिल में कुछ नहीं रहता, वैसे वाले HR रहते वो. You know, they will bombard you and then they'll forget. Okay, then they'll become friendly with you. So one of the primary skills that you will need to have is people management. When I say people management, not managing people technically or anything like that. Second, very important is convincing skills. It's very important that you should be able to convince employees, right from making sure that they attend interviews after the project, the hiring manager shortlist, to making sure that they join your organization instead of ditching you on the last day and saying मैं कहीं और organization जा रहा हूँ, and till the time of exit. So you'll have to have very strong convincing skills. This is another skill that an HR manager needs to have. And these skills cannot be taught in, I would say, schools, or they'll be taught by your parents to indirectly or directly. But you'll have to improve them using what is being taught in the colleges. Now, another skill that you would want to go for is your business acumen. You'll have to be mentally prepared to understand anything and everything that happens in the business. If you are not convinced or you're not ready to learn business, then it's of no use joining HR, because if you don't know business, you cannot hire for that kind of business.
Okay, so sir, now this question is a little personal one, and this is my question.
Okay.
You have all the traits of a person who can fit in marketing also. Mm-hmm. Why do you choose HR?
Okay, so I'll tell you. 2010, we passed out from our MBA. The market was not really bad due to the recession. It was not really bad. as expected. So when I joined in 2008, I'll tell you, a lot of very close friends of mine know this. When I joined my MBA in 2008, मैंने सोच लिया था कि मुझे एटलीस्ट 10 लाख का पैकेज चाहिए मेरे को MBA होने के बाद, ठीक है. And then the recession hit, and then we realized that it's better I get a good job. That will be more than enough. When we passed out from the college, I secured a job in Infosys, wherein I was working as an HR spock. People there also asked me why I chose marketing. Now I will come back to your question, why I chose and why I did not choose marketing. The reason why I did not choose marketing is because I always wanted to be between people, understand their problems, and help them resolve their problems. And I know marketing and sales can also do this, obviously, but I thought that HR would be more. HR at that point made more sense to me. But honestly, if you ask me, I do a lot of marketing in HR also. I do a lot of designing our internal campaigns using Photoshop, Illustrator, and Canva. So I do try to send teasers for anything that happens. I try to be creative in whatever things I can do. So yes.
Okay. So one more question related to work from home, which is a new normal. What do you think? Is work from home efficient or it is not efficient? Because earlier there was a perception that work from home, the people who are doing work from home, they are not efficient. Now this is a predominantly very useful these days. The companies are opting for work from home. Correct. So what is your perception about it?
Sure. Earlier, before the pandemic hit, a lot of organizations, I would say, like you correctly said, we're thinking that work from home might not be efficient. Their productivity might go down, which was honestly true to a certain extent, because what was happening was they were allowing work from home to a certain set of people. Okay, let's say all the senior management is allowed to work from home, or all the middle managers are allowed to work from home. When that happens, your interaction is one way. Half of your team is in office and you are at home. So that common platform is not achieved or is not reached. So now, post-pandemic, post the lockdown started, what happened was everybody was working from home. They knew what their problems were at home while working from home. They knew कि अभी सब लोग work from home कर रहे हैं, अभी सबको productive होना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो सब, since the organization is also saying सबको productive होना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो हम लोग will be a big problem. They knew कि उसकी daughter आ सकती है अंदर रूम के, so he keeps the door locked. They knew कि उसका इंटरनेट नहीं चल सकता है, कभी भी बंद होता है, कभी भी लाइट जाती है उसके घर पे, so he might have a backup for his internet through his hotspot, something like that. So people are getting used to it. But in the new normal, if you, like I told in my presentation, if you ask us about our organization, the productivity has remained same or has improved a little bit. It has not gone down. See, so it's the new normal and the old normal is the same. Old thing and the new normal is the same for us. So productivity has not gone down. So work from home has not impacted us. But one thing is for sure. A lot of organizations are talking about कि we'll allow work from home post pandemic, post the lockdown is over and all those things. But honestly, believe me, आज मैं लिख के देता हूँ, these organizations won't allow work from home even after that. Okay, because they will still be having that old mindset, thinking कि work from देंगे तो वापस efficiency कम होगी, जबकि उन्होंने देखा है कि यहाँ पे efficiency कम नहीं हुई.
Right. So now the question which is related to your industry. Mm-hmm. So earlier there was a lot of restrictions when we use, IT infrastructure of an office. So we were not allowed to use USB storage devices. So there are a lot of restrictions. Now people are working from home. They have systems at their place. They can do anything with that. How that data security is managed now?
Sure. So if you take an example of our organization, this is a solution from Microsoft. Okay, so I'm technically telling you so that you understand. Microsoft has something called as Intune, INTUNE. In that, there is something called as device management. Okay, so under Intune and device management, let's say if I bought a new laptop for office, okay, the IT administrator will add it to Intune. through Intune, he can control every port of this laptop, every installation. He can allow you to install a particular software, or disallow you to install a particular software. He can pick and choose whatever he wants you to do on the laptop. So even if I take this system home, he can I told you about the webcam and the other things, right, that I was facing a few problems. So when I approached my IT support guy, so he helped me in setting up things, and that way I was able to log in. He did not come. He is based. He has moved to his hometown for a few days. So from there he activated it, and I'm all good. So the organizations will still be able to control everything. Obviously, USBs won't be allowed because of viruses and malware. But yeah, organizations will be able to control everything they want.
Okay. So next question is, how do you handle employees' mental state during this pandemic? So, they are going through a lot of stress. They are locked down at one place. So what are the HR policies? How companies are, reorganizing their policies? What measures you people have taken?
So yes, obviously there's a lot of stress especially because there's no end time. There is a start time. Let's say I start at 8:30, but there's no end time for working from home. Everybody, since the travel time has also reduced, so at that time also you are being productive. So a lot of stress is there in the employees. So what the organizations are doing is they are playing different games. They are arranging different activities. I've seen a few companies arrange hackathons related to coding. Few organizations are taking Fun Fridays. Few organizations are sharing. I came across an organization who has given Netflix subscription to their employees. Every employee has got a Netflix subscription. So that's a very good initiative. You see, it's a Pune-based organization. So very good initiative. That's the only thing that people can think of right now, because it's new for the HR fraternity also, these things. So we are trying to adapt and improve our policies so that we can keep employees engaged and stress-free.
Okay. Do you think there is a slow growth in HR?
Well, if you ask technically, I don't think there is slow growth in HR, because it depends on which stream you choose. Okay. So I started as an HR SPOC. An HR SPOC is a person who is the first point of contact for anything and everything related to HR, other than your salary. And that was in a large organization. So when I worked with a large organization, if I would have stayed there, I would have moved from HR SPOC to an HR executive, from there to an HR business partner. But here, when I choose, let's say, for example, if I want to be a generalist, okay, generalist is different from a recruiter. He might have to do some part of recruitment also. But if you talk about growth in terms of designation, yes, it will depend on which organization you join and how is their structure. But if you talk about the skill sets, you will be able to grow very rapidly based on the exact role that you get or choose. So now there is no option of choosing in HR. Okay, whatever you get, whether it's recruitment or as an HR generalist, you have to take it. But if you luckily get HR generalist, there is a very high chance that your skill sets will grow and you'll be able to move to the next level in terms of salary and in terms of learning. Please don't assume that if I become an HR head, that means I'm successful. I have seen HR heads earning just 5 lakhs to 6 lakhs in mid-size or smaller organizations, whereas I have seen HR business partner in larger organizations earning 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs packages. Okay, so designation and salary has nothing to do with each other, please. And if you look at since last 4 years or 5 years, I'm an HR business partner. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm getting to learn things. I'm exploring newer technologies and everything. I'm getting to learn newer skills. So it doesn't matter what my designation is. Yeah.
Yeah. So last question. You mentioned that companies will retain or promote more resilient people.
Mm-hmm.
So as student, what steps one should take to become resilient?
Sure. To become resilient, you have to move away from the normal life that you live. Okay, let's say for example, a person who does not do any exercise in the morning, afternoon, evening can start doing exercise. So can start hitting the gym or start exercising. That way, to be resilient, you have to take up new challenges. Now when I say new challenges, जिसने कभी जिम में कभी गया ही नहीं है, वो बंदा अगर जिम जाने लग गया and diligently अगर जिम कर रहा है, that means he has accepted that challenge and he's overcoming it. It was a challenge for him earlier, right? We have seen a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of attendees over here would agree. 6 महीने का हम लोग जिम का मेंबरशिप भर देते हैं, जाते 2 वीक, उसके बाद बोलते हैं कल जाऊंगा कल जाऊंगा कल जाऊंगा. So take up newer things that you have never done. To become resilient, you have to take up new challenges, and this was one of the personal challenges that you can take, and learn newer technologies. When you learn newer technologies and try to implement them, you become more resilient.
Great, sir. It was a very insightful session.
Thank you.
On behalf of IIEBM family, I would like to thank you for your time and best wishes for your future endeavors.
Thank you very much, Krishna. Thank you, Jay sir. Thank you everyone for attending.
And students, we have our next session in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned on the next link. Till then, long live IIEBM. And
Thank you.
Thank you.